Howdy everybody, I'm Harvey Media and this is Harvey Media Reviews. Like I said in a recent video, I've been working really hard on some projects recently, trying to get both personal stuff and professional stuff in order so that I can make sure that I'm releasing the best material that I possibly can on this channel. But in the meantime, it's been kind of dead air for a while and I'm feeling a little bit bad about that. So I thought maybe there's like the comic book stuff, the comic book videos I was making, maybe there's a efficient, cheap type of video that I can put out that you guys would all enjoy, hopefully, and that I would enjoy making just really quick while still giving me time to really knuckle down and work on those other projects that I'm working on. And don't worry, we'll find out what those projects are eventually. In the meantime, one of my favorite videos, filming-wise, one of the most fun videos I ever did was one that was actually right off the cuff. It was the Harvey Media Reacts to Gamera 3 video. And it was a lot of fun to do. It was a lot of fun to, well, it wasn't a lot of fun to edit because this camera, same camera that I used for that video, tends to put the audio out of sync when I play the video back. So that's going to be fun when editing this. But it was a lot of fun to put out there, and from the feedback that I got, people seemed to like it. So I thought, what if I did a little series like that? Turns out that around here, I actually have a lot of movies. I've been noticing this recently. I have a lot of movies that I have never actually seen. I've just bought the DVDs, or the DVDs have been given to me by someone or another. I mean, you saw I did the unboxing video following the Gamera thing, and I had just 20 to 40 different movies in that case that I still to this day haven't actually watched. I watched one, and that's what I'm going to talk about in a minute. But yeah, this is a new kind of a thing. Not really new because I've done the reaction videos before, where for the most part, not with this video in particular, but starting in the next video, you're going to see me reacting to movies as I see them for the first time, and then I'm going to afterwards kind of describe the film and talk about it a little bit. Kind of a combination, talk about what I got out of the film, stuff like that. Kind of like a play off a much shorter, trimmed down version of Welcome to the Basement, or possibly Tamara Hasn't Seen from That Guy with the Glasses, or whatever that show's called that they recently decided to do. So, as I promised at the end of that unboxing video, and maybe I'll cut to a clip here. Oh wait, just open the thing and there is an extra DVD. Look at that. I don't speak Japanese or Chinese. I think that's Japanese. I don't speak it, so I don't know what that is. So I guess I'm just gonna have to put this into my DVD player and see what happens. Maybe that'll be part 2 of this video, is me putting this DVD into a DVD player and seeing what happens. And I did find out what it was. I watched it. I even recorded some material on it, but I ran into some problems getting footage for a full review of it, because the DVD that I got, surprise, surprise, being outside of its own box, had been scratched beyond repair, so I could only see part of the movie on the DVD. I had to go online to see the rest of it. But here's the skinny. The movie is called The Last Dinosaur. It is a film made by the Rankin Bass Company, the same people who made those stop-motion Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman movies, all that stuff. And they made a live-action movie in which this hunter, I think his name is Thrust or something, goes out to find this lost continent underneath the surface of the earth where dinosaurs still roam. And it's an incredibly bad movie. The special effects are awful. The acting is terrible. The main character especially seems to be drunk throughout the entire film. It's sexist, it's racist, it's kind of a mess. But I personally actually found a lot to like in it, because the title of the film is called The Last Dinosaur. And from the beginning, they hammer it into your head that even though the last dinosaur technically is referring to the fact that there are dinosaurs in the film on this island separated from everybody else, but it's also referring, and the film loudly announces this to you, it's also referring to the main character, who's a big game hunter in modern day, which in the 70s when this film was made, and as well as today, big game hunters are not as lauded as they used to be. Gone are the days of Alan Quartermain. Gone are the days when you could see a good movie based on Tarzan. Uh, those days are gone forever, and this guy's still walking around. He's a dinosaur. He is a leftover relic from a bygone era. There's even like a swinging, jazzy song at the beginning of the film hammering this point home.
He is the last dinosaur.
And if you didn't get it at the beginning of the film, at the end of the film, they get a chance to escape. The whole crew, there's a bunch of characters. They all get a chance to escape. Well, except for the ones that died, of course. They all get a chance to escape. And Thrust's last chance at killing the dinosaur just failed. And they're like, we have to get out of here. He's like, I can't go. So why can't you go? That's ridiculous. You need to come with us.
It's the last one.
So am I.
Yeah, so he stays behind. That's the end of the movie. Spoilers. He stays behind, and they go on their way. And it was really interesting. What I got out of that was it seemed to me to be a pretty decent. I mean, it's a terrible movie, but in concept, it seemed to me to be a very decent send-off to that kind of story. Because people forget, especially in modern day, that was an entire genre. Back in the days of White Man's Burden, one of the first adventure novel stories, and therefore one of the first adventure movie stories when it eventually transitioned, was white man goes to black person place and gets scared. And this type of movie continued on throughout the 70s and part of the 80s as well. And nowadays it's much less because we kind of moved on. But, you know, again, stories like Alan Quatermain in King Solomon's Mine, Tarzan, She, even The Mummy to a certain extent. They're all stories about these brave white explorers, big game hunters usually, going to a foreign country, usually Africa, either Egypt or deepest, darkest Africa, which is an unspecified location in the middle of a jungle location where there are tribesmen of a kind and pygmies and cannibals and stuff like that. And they go out there and they hunt and they have adventures and they find hidden treasures and they find subhuman monstrosities, black people, that try and eat them. And this was great fun for many generations, and a lot of people still have a lot of nostalgia for these types of stories even today. I know that I certainly do to a certain extent. I grew up a fan of Tarzan. I think that the Disney movie, which you'll notice does not include any of the tribes of natives that Tarzan would fight in both the books and the old movies, the Disney movie of Tarzan I thought was quite good. King Kong is another story like this. That's a classic. And you'll notice that whenever they get transplanted to modern day, they're always kind of iffy about that. If they include the natives at all, they keep making movies based on these stories, and if they ever include the natives at all, they always go out of their way to make them seem beyond human. They're usually played by black people still, but they paint them up like white or green. One of my favorites is in the 1980s adaptation of Sherlock Holmes and what's the name of that? The Sign of Four. Sherlock Holmes and the Sign of Four, which is a story not where Sherlock Holmes goes to Africa, but someone brings a killer pygmy from Africa to kill people on his behalf, which is, of course, awful. But in the 1980s version, they were obviously terrified of having a small black person be characterized as a monster, as so many people in the story do, but they also wanted to be as true to the original work as they possibly could. So they got a short person. I don't know if it was a black person or a white person. You couldn't tell. And they made him up to look like a tiny goblin, like green skin, tusks coming out of the bottom of his mouth. It was absurd. But it was really the only thing that they could do with that concept. And in this film, you have a character, Thrust, who is sexist. Much like those other heroes were also sexist as much as they were racist. And he has a native guide, who's a black guy who doesn't talk. He has sex with one of the native women. They scare off the natives who are more Asian in this film than they are African, which is I found interesting. They scare them off with their superior godlike abilities guns, and it's interesting. And of course, fighting dinosaurs, and then we leave him there, and at the end of the story. And to me, it was kind of a perverted version of Winnie the Pooh, kind of, because Winnie the Pooh at the end of the last Winnie the Pooh book, we leave Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh at the top of the 100-Acre Wood, and and at the end of the movie anyway, I don't remember if this is in the book or not. There's that epic line, wherever they go and whatever happens to them along the way, at the top of the forests, a little boy and his bear will always be waiting. And I feel like that's kind of what this movie is saying, what the end result of this movie is as well. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, at the end of the day, on a hidden island in the center of the earth where dinosaurs still roam, and it's okay to pick on indigenous populations, an overweight, drunk, white bigot will always be waiting. And I honestly find some comfort in that. Join me next time when we're going to be looking at Battle of the Worlds, starring Claude Rains.